Look at this beautiful city. It's called Yangsan, which means Yang Mountain. And there's all where the people live. It's like China minus the pollution, minus the air pollution. And I was going to tell you about the number 2 line. I actually hate that subway line because for the most part, it just squeals and squeals when you're riding it, and it's so noisy. So you can't even listen to your headphones. You don't know what you're listening to. I was trying to listen to some investment podcast from Charles Schwab, and I couldn't even hear it half the time because it's so noisy. But once you get out really far on the Green Line, it goes from underground to above ground, and then you see the rivers and the mountains going up this valley to Yangsan, and it's actually really nice and very pleasant. And you get to ride the train while seeing the river next to you and the lake. Actually, it's not a lake, it's a river, I think, but it's a very wide river, so it looks like a lake. And then here's some of the local tourist attractions that I haven't been to. Yangsan, Obongsan, and remember that san means mountain. San no mosamida, which means that once you go over a mountain, there's another mountain, so it's an expression. San no mosamida. Okay, so we are going to Tongdosa. It is a big temple established in the Shilla dynasty, actually in the 600s, but then it was used all the way up until the Joseon dynasty era. All of the buildings but one were destroyed in the Japanese invasions of 1500s, and then the rest of them were rebuilt. I'm not sure which century, but more recently. Some other things to note about the temple are, instead of Buddha statues, there are actually Buddha relics. And so there's relics and not statues. That's a big thing about the temple. Legend had it that Jajang Yusa, who went to the Tang dynasty, so 600s, to go learn more about Buddhism, and he came back. And then he came here to this spot, and there were 9 evil dragons living in the pond. So he tried to chase them out, and they said, no, we don't want to go. And so then he did something with the paper and the fire and the stick and all this big performance thing, and he shooed them all away, and then he made the water boil. And so 3 dragons flew out, they got all confused, and they smashed to a cliff and died. 5 more dragons flew up, and then they went down to the valley southwest of here. And then 1 dragon, he kind of got confused and blind, and then he fell back into the water, and then he begged Jajang Yusa to let him stay, if on condition that he would protect the temple. And so that was the deal. So that's why the pond is now called the 9-Dragon Temple, or 9-Dragon Pond, but there's actually only 1 dragon living there, and he's protecting the temple. So keep that in mind when we go see the temple, and I show you a video on the next file. You're welcome. This has been Education Corner by David. So this looks like a really strong anthropomorphized bull, maybe, or sheep.
What's your zodiac sign, by the way?
I don't know, but I'm not going to tell you. Rat, because I don't believe in that nonsense, and I don't want to be categorized with my songyuk and my personality in a certain thing. And people, whenever they ask,
I just want to know what's your zodiac sign.
No, I'm none.
Okay, you're none. All right. Okay, you are Christian. Let's say you are Christian.
You have to be disagreeable sometimes. When people ask you your zodiac sign, and if you don't know, just say, I don't know, and refuse, and then they'll ask you, but really, they won't ask you your zodiac sign. They're going to ask you, oh, when is your birthday? Because they want to know your zodiac sign, because they want to know what your personality is. Like, oh, that's why you're fill in the blank. But the fact is, if you told them January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, whatever month, you could tell them anything. And then they would say, oh yeah, that's why you do blah, 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 blah. That's how much nonsense all the zodiac stuff is. Because it's just these general prognostications and astrology, and you can fit in any personality with any person because there's just certain aspects that it describes. So don't get involved with that nonsense. That is the second lesson from Education Corner with David.
Their habits or their way of their tendency,
yes,
so that they work together.
So the Northern organizations do the Myers-Briggs or the MBTI, or they do the Enneagram, or they do the there's a couple others that I've done in the past. And Yeah, I don't really care
Do
for
you
it.
think it's bigger than Formosa?
Uh,
No. Same.
hard to say because Bomosa has different. You go up these stairs and then you go to another pagoda and then more stairs, whereas this one is all flat on the same. So it's hard.
No, these are not flat. If you see from here, there are steps.
Yeah, but you don't go up huge flights of stairs like you do at Bomosa. So, I haven't been there for 10 years, so it's hard for me to know.
So actually,
This is the main building of Tongdosa. And then I think either the relics are in there or we have to look through a window and they're over in that courtyard maybe, I'm not sure. What else was I going to say about this place? I guess that's it, yeah. Built during the Shilla dynasty here. This is north of Yangsan by another 30-minute drive. I'm going to go in there and take some photos. This is the little dragon pond where there were 9 dragons in the pond. And we're living in a cave, one of the 2. And the monk chased them all away except for one. And the blind one stayed and protects the temple. Maybe that's where the relics are. And they're buried?
what did you say?
Are the relics buried in these
Under.
concrete things? Underneath. That's where they are.